This is Brian Putt. Today I'd like to talk to you about the capital efficiency chart. This is a chart that can be used to look at incremental economics, and I want to explain how it works. And we'll also talk about the Profitability Index as a metric that you might wish to track for your project. So here is a graphic of the capital efficiency chart. First of all, the Profitability Index is equal to the net present value of the cash flow, typical NPV, let's say 10% discount rate, divided by the present value of the CapEx, also at 10%. Some people do use undiscounted capital, or even the capital of the first year, but depending upon what type of project you have, it could make a lot of difference. Anyway, you need to define what that profitability index is with that denominator. The numerator is always going to be NPV 10, though. So then you plot this cross plot of NPV versus discounted capital. And let's assume there are three alternatives: alternative 1, alternative 2, and alternative 3. These may be really discrete alternatives, or these could be expansions of the project. And what you're seeing here is the incremental capital discounted for each one of these projects and the incremental capital that you can get. Now, the profitability index, we need to define a criteria or a hurdle rate for that. I've picked a 0.3 PI line, and that's represented by this dashed line. And you'll notice that when the capital is 500, I need a 150 NPV to get a 0.3 PI. So that would suggest that when I'm comparing alternatives 1, 2, and 3, that anything above this line is more than 0.3 DPI, and that's what's reflected down here. But then the question is incremental. Now, if I put this line up here coming through alternative 1, we can see alternative 2 is higher. That means the incremental capital for alternative 2 achieves the 0.3 DPI. And if I go from alternative 2 to alternative 3, I haven't drawn the line, but you can see that it is less. Also, if I go from alternative 1 to alternative 3, it's less than 0.3 PI. All right, well, it sounds like alternative 2 is the best. But wait, let's look at the NPV. The NPV of alternative 3 is 170 versus alternative 2 of 150. So why do I want to go to an alternative that has a lower NPV? The question becomes, what can I do with that capital? If I could take that incremental capital, in this case, it looks to be what, 175? If I take that 175 capital and invest it in a 0.3 DPI, then I would have an NPV up in here, which would be higher than what I would get with alternative 3. So that's the argument for using this line as the incremental and making a decision in a rational decision way of alternative 2 rather than alternative 3, even though alternative 3 has a higher NPV. So that explains the capital efficiency chart. I think plotting it and then explaining it to your management, they may find this very, very helpful in making decisions and making incremental decisions on alternatives or capacity alternatives. Thank you for watching.